You have 9 of these signs. So do I. So does basically everyone watching this right now. And here's the thing. The people who have 0, they're lying. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to see yourself in ways that are uncomfortable and kind of freeing at the same time. Let's talk about that word, loser. It's one of those words that hits different. It's not just an insult, it's a fear. Deep down, a lot of us have this quiet, nagging voice that asks, am I falling behind? Am I wasting my potential? Am I doing enough? And most of us never say that out loud. But here's the psychology behind it. There's a concept called feared self. It's basically the version of yourself you're most afraid of becoming. And researchers have found that your feared self can actually be just as powerful a motivator as your ideal self, sometimes even more powerful. So when you hear a list like this one, it doesn't just make you think about other people, it makes you quietly check yourself, which is good, because awareness is literally step 1 of change. But, and this is important, there's a difference between having a habit that holds you back and being a loser. One is a pattern, the other is an identity, and you are not your patterns. Okay, let's get into it. 9 signs, and I promise you're going to recognize at least a few. Sign number 1, settling for far less than your potential. This one is sneaky, because settling doesn't always feel like settling. Sometimes it feels like being realistic. Sometimes it feels like being humble. Sometimes it just feels like being tired. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. It's what happens when you've tried things before, they didn't work out, and your brain goes, okay, cool, let's just stop trying to avoid the pain of failing again. Makes sense as a survival mechanism. Makes 0 sense as a life strategy. Here's the real tell. If you ever catch yourself saying, this is fine, while a little voice whispers, but it's really not though, that's the gap. That gap between where you are and where you know you could be, that's not just discomfort, that's information. We'll come back to why people choose comfort over potential a little later, because it connects to something really interesting about how your brain is wired. Sign number 2, having a closed mind, being unwilling to change bad views. Okay, real talk. This one is uncomfortable because nobody thinks it's about them. Everyone thinks they're the open-minded one. It's always the other guy who's stubborn. There's a psychological term for this. It's called belief perseverance. Once you've formed a belief, your brain actually starts filtering information to protect that belief. It's not stupidity, it's literally just how brains work. You see confirming evidence everywhere. Contradicting evidence barely registers. The sign of real intellectual growth isn't having the right opinions. It's being willing to hold your opinions loosely, to say, I could be wrong about this. That takes more courage than most people realize. Sign number 3, feeling sorry for yourself, playing the victim. Now, quick pause before you skip this one thinking it's not you. There's a difference between genuinely going through something hard and victim mentality. And the difference is this. One is a situation, the other is an identity. Psychologists call it external locus of control, the belief that things just happen to you, that other people and circumstances are always the reason your life is the way it is. And here's why it's so dangerous. It feels like it protects your ego. If nothing is your fault, nothing can hurt your self-image. But it also means nothing is in your control. And that is a miserable way to live. The shift from victim to agency is literally one of the most well-documented changes in therapy. And it usually starts with one question. What can I actually do here? Not what should someone else do. What can I do? Small question. Enormous impact. Signs 4 and 5 kind of go together. No passion or purpose in life, and not learning new things. Here's something wild. Humans are the only species on Earth that can get bored by their own lives. Think about that. A dog never wakes up and thinks, man, what am I even doing with myself? But we do. And that feeling, that hollowness, it's not a personality flaw. It's actually a signal. It means your brain is understimulated. It means you're not growing. There's research by psychologist Csikszentmihalyi. Yes, I just attempted that name, around something called flow states. Flow is that thing where you're so locked into what you're doing that you lose track of time. And it turns out flow is one of the biggest predictors of happiness. Not money, not status, not followers. It's being absorbed in something meaningful. People who aren't learning anything new rarely experience flow. They go through the motions. Days blur, weeks blur,
And then one day you're like, where did the last 3 years go? The antidote isn't finding your life's grand purpose overnight. It's staying curious, learning one new thing, following one weird interest. Curiosity is a muscle. Use it or lose it.
Sign number 6. Wasting time on things that don't matter. And before you say, but I deserve to relax. Yes, you do. That's not what this is about. There's a concept called time affluence, the feeling that you have enough time for the things that matter. And research shows it's one of the strongest predictors of life satisfaction. Not how much time you have, how purposeful it feels. The issue isn't watching a movie to unwind. The issue is finishing the movie, opening another one, finishing that, scrolling for 45 minutes, going to bed, and doing it again tomorrow. Not because you wanted to, but because the alternative required choosing something, and choosing is hard. Psychologists call this decision fatigue meets passive consumption. Your brain takes the path of least resistance, and digital entertainment? It is specifically designed to be that path. It is engineered to be the easiest possible thing you could be doing. So the question isn't, am I resting? It's, do I feel more alive after this, or less? Sign number 7. Burning bridges instead of building connections. This one's subtle, because burning bridges doesn't always mean blow-ups and dramatic exits. Sometimes it's just drifting, not following up, not showing up, letting things quietly die. Relationships are one of the most reliable predictors of long-term happiness. That's not a hot take. That's literally what the 85-year Harvard study on adult development found. Longest happiness study ever done. And the conclusion? The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. Full stop. And yet, a lot of us treat relationships like background apps we forget to update. And then one day you need somebody, and the contacts list is dusty. Connection requires investment, not grand gestures. Just consistent, small deposits, check-ins, showing up, actually asking how people are doing and listening to the answer. It's not complicated. It's just easy to put off. Sign number 8. Being negative and complaining all the time. Quick science drop. Neurologists have found that complaining, like habitual complaining, actually rewires your brain. Every time you run a neural pathway, it gets stronger, which means the more you complain, the more naturally your brain routes toward complaints. It literally becomes your default lens. There's a term, negativity bias. Humans are already wired to notice bad things more than good things. It's a survival thing from way back. But when you layer chronic complaining on top of that, you've basically turbocharged the bad news filter. The interesting flip side is that gratitude, actual practiced gratitude, does the same thing in reverse. It doesn't mean ignoring problems, it means training your attention toward what's also working. And this matters beyond just feeling better. Research shows that negative people have fewer opportunities brought to them, because nobody wants to bring problems to someone who makes them feel worse. Think about that. Sign number 9. Talking big, but never following through. And this one I want you to sit with. There's a psychological concept called identity-based motivation. Basically, your actions follow your identity. Who you think you are shapes what you do. But here's the trap. When you talk a lot about who you're going to be, the business you're going to start, the body you're going to get, the life you're going to build, your brain registers the social approval from that conversation as a partial reward. You told someone your plan, they reacted positively, dopamine hit, and now the motivation to actually do it goes down. Studies on this go back decades. Telling people your goals can make you less likely to achieve them because your brain already got a taste of the reward. The fix isn't to stop dreaming, it's to become someone who is known more for what they do than what they say they'll do. Small actions, repeated, no announcement required. Okay, so we've gone through 9 signs, and here's where I want to land. This list isn't a checklist for judging other people, it's a mirror. Every single pattern on this list is a pattern that develops for a reason. Settling is often protection from heartbreak. Playing the victim is often protection from responsibility. Burning bridges is often protection from intimacy. Complaining is often protection from action. These aren't signs of a bad person, they're signs of a scared one. And the reason this matters is because fear-based patterns can change. They're not who you are, they're what you learned. And anything learned can be unlearned. The psychologist Carl Jung had this idea about the shadow, the parts of yourself you don't want to look at. And he said something pretty striking. He said you don't overcome your shadow by fighting it, you overcome it by seeing it clearly. That's what this list is. Not a verdict, a flashlight. If something in this video hit a little close to home, good. That means it landed. Share it with someone who might need it. Not to call them out, just because sometimes we need someone to hold the flashlight for us. And if you want more of this kind of content, the psychology behind everyday behavior, why we do what we do, and what we can actually do about it, subscribe. New video every week. One last thing. Go back to sign number 1. Settling for less than your potential. Here's the question I want to leave you with. What if the biggest sign on this list isn't anything on this list? What if the real sign is never looking at a list like this at all? You watch this to the end. That already tells you something.